Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of our national anthem?
I am a witness to legends. Some move with me, some against me, but only one man outran me.
I was in elementary school when I really knew who my dad was. People would come up and tell me stories. And let me tell you about number 22. I said, oh, okay, tell me about 22. And then when they finish, and I'll go in and I'll have a story. You let me say all of this, and Bob Hayes, your dad? And I'm like, I just like to hear and see their faces as well, once they find out who he is. So,
an icon, a legend from Jacksonville, a man that I call friend. Young people today may not fully understand the magnitude of who Bob Hayes was.
When you go to FAMU and you say Bob Hayes, everybody, that's a staple name there in the FAMU community. And so that's a part of the culture. He's a part of the culture.
I usually don't come across generational talent, but when I do, they're never forgotten.
He was a legend, so you knew the story of Bob Hayes. When you talk about Florida A&M, you talk about the track program, Bob Hayes always comes up.
Bob and I started to be roommates on the road, and then the second year, we just, kind of bonded. At the beginning of track practice in 1961, he came out for the track team. Coach Robert P. Griffin, our track coach, had recruited him because he'd seen him run, and, they do wind sprints in football. So Hayes was beating everybody on those wind sprints. He, of course, turned out to be the best sprinter in the history of track and field. I mean, he was that good.
I marked Hayes down in history at each track meet, clocking every second at the finish line. He traveled across the nation, shattering records as the first person to break 6 seconds in the 60-yard dash, won 3 consecutive AAU 100-yard championships, and became the only person to become an NCAA national champion from Florida A&M.
When you were a part of the track program, you had to understand your history.
I wanted to be an Olympic champion. I wanted to compete in the Olympics.
If you were professional in one sport, it disqualified you from competing in amateur sports across the board. Lyndon Johnson called the owners of the NFL and asked them not to draft Bob Hayes. He certainly didn't want Hayes to be ineligible for the Olympic Games.
He had to work hard coming from Jacksonville and just having the United States on his shoulders. He had to work hard for what he believed in. He had to work hard for representing the United States of America. He had to work hard to get where he was.
Everybody who had a television, invited neighbors over. Bob Hayes is on, Bob Hayes is on. Everybody wanted to see Bob Hayes because he represented us.
It's Italy, then France, but here comes Bob Hayes. Hayes, new Jack of Coleman. Hayes and new Jack. Hayes is running. Hayes. USA wins. America wins. Hayes won it.
First, USA. In a time of 39 seconds. A new Olympic and a new world record.
After breaking me in Tokyo, I wondered if we'd ever cross paths again.
When he came home from Tokyo, the city of Jacksonville really did not honor him. So some of the track coaches, these high school coaches got together and wanted to put a track meet on in his name. The Bob Hayes Invitational track and field meet is not a track meet.
It's an experience. It's an opportunity for student athletes across the southeastern part of the United States to come and be tested. And it's not only the track meet, but it's the camaraderie. It's the fellowship between athletes from north and south, east and west. They come together because they all have a common goal, and that's to be a Bob Hayes champion.
We started out in 1964 with 5 schools. And here is now, we've gone over to 200 plus schools.
When you say that you are Bob Hayes champion for life, that means something. Bob was, and still is, one of the most recognizable names in all of NFL history.
Man, I couldn't slow him down. In 1965, Hayes took his Olympic yards to the National Football League. He was drafted in the 7th round as the 88th pick by the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, America's team.
In his prime, there was no one better. There was no one better.
Hayes was named first and second team All-Pro NFL twice, 2 times, became a 3-time Pro Bowler, led the NFL in receiving touchdowns in his first 2 seasons, and averaged 20 yards per reception over his career.
When you got on TV and then they started talking about the bullet, my grandfather said, you understand why they call him the bullet? Because he was so fast. He's faster than you shoot a gun, bam, he's there.
Bob Hayes, because of his speed, changed the game of football. Prior to Bob coming in the league, most defenses played man-to-man. But when Bob came in, his speed was so phenomenal. Defensive coaches changed the game to zone. Okay, I'll put a man here, a man here, a man here. And all 3 of you checked Bob Hayes because he was so fast. Even in zone defenses, Bob Hayes still scored touchdowns.
In his 11-year football career, he became a Super Bowl champion, totaled over 7,000 yards, and 71 touchdowns. And by the way, 71 touchdowns still remains as the Cowboys club record.
Bob Hayes is the only man that God blew breath in that ever walked the face of the earth to win 2 Olympic gold medals and a Super Bowl ring. No other human being has that.
Whether good or bad, change always starts with me.
I think it was a great adjustment that had been taken. You're transitioning. Yes, it's hard because you don't have to get up, you don't have to go to practice, you're not in the limelight, you're not on national TV. So now it's like a reality check. You coming in, what am I going to do? I don't have to go to practice. So the transition part, it was a little difficult.
You know, we all are creatures of our environments. And if you get in an environment with someone who does not have your best interests in heart, you can't see the forest for the trees. And you can go down a wrong path. The process in the Pro Football Hall of Fame has a political tone to it. It's the epitome of every player that puts on a helmet and a pair of cleats.
The naysayers and people, oh, he won't get in. If he doesn't get in this year, he won't get in. But God says otherwise. In 2009, he was inducted, and we, the family, my kids, my husband, we were there when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
want him to be known for more than just the fast guy, that he was a person, he was an athlete, he did great things for the university, put FAMU on the map in a lot of ways, and I think his legacy will live on and on.
It's his story. It's Bob Hayes' story. In that light that's shown on the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, that light and that flame will never be diminished.
And I just can't, be more thankful for just the things that he did as a Black African-American male, and it's still going on today.
When the days passed you by, when the wind rushed by your ears as you sprinted towards the finish line, the crowds erupted your name as you touched the end zone. There I was, all the hours, minutes, and seconds that made you, the bullet.